From the world's most famous spirits, from castles built on ancient volcanoes,
to the minds that built an empire.
every corner of this land tells a story written in stone. Great Britain might seem like a small place on a map, but for a geologist, this is where Earth's greatest mysteries were first unlocked. This is where we discovered that our planet was ancient beyond imagination, where we learned to read the stories hidden in stone, and where we created the map that would change how we see Earth forever. I'm Jess, and as a geologist, exploring Great Britain is more than just a trip. It's a kind of pilgrimage to where my field of science was born. So come with me on a journey to discover how geology shaped everything from Scotland's famous whisky to Britain's industrial might, and how a farmer, a surveyor, and a fossil hunter changed the world as we know it. Welcome to the Rock Record. Let's talk rocks. When we look at the British landscape today, from Scotland's dramatic mountains to England's rolling hills, we're seeing just the latest chapter in an incredible journey that spans over 3 billion years. It's a story of continents colliding, oceans opening and closing, tropical seas, vast deserts, and massive ice sheets. To tell a story of Scotland's geologic history, there is no better place than Dynamic Earth, so let's go check it out. While this may look like just a random path of rocks here at Dynamic Earth, these stones tell the story of Scotland itself, from its journey from near the southern hemisphere all the way up to where it's at today, traveling through oceans and water and desert and all sorts of cool stuff. Our story begins with Britain's oldest rocks in northwest Scotland. These ancient gneisses, almost 3 billion years old, have been twisted and transformed by unimaginable heat and pressure. The Lewisian gneiss tells us of a time when this part of Britain was actually near the South Pole, part of an ancient continent becoming shaped by volcanic activity and mountain building. These rocks form deep in the Earth's crust, and they record an unimaginable history of tectonic change, volcanic events, mountain building, deep burial, and snow erosion. Then came one of the most dramatic chapters in Britain's history, the closure of an ancient ocean called the Iapetus. This event brought about a massive collision of continental plates that built mountains as high as today's Himalayas. 3 different land masses collided: Laurentia, which includes North America and the oldest rocks of Scotland; the smaller Avalonia continent, which includes England, Wales, parts of Ireland, and Atlantic Canada; and the continent of Baltica. When these plates collided around 480 to 430 million years ago, it created a mountain chain that would have rivaled anything we see on Earth today. What's particularly fascinating for us Americans is that these ancient mountains are part of a much bigger story. When these continents collided, they didn't just create Scotland's highlands, they formed a part of the central Pangaean Mountains, a massive mountain chain that stretched across the supercontinent of Pangaea. Today, we can still see pieces of this ancient range in places you might not expect. The Scottish Highlands and the Appalachian Mountains of North America were once part of the same mountain chain, as were the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. Much like today's Himalayas, these mountains would have dominated the landscape of Pangaea. Over hundreds of millions of years, weathering and erosion gradually wore down these mighty peaks to the rolling hills and dramatic landscapes we see today, but their shared story remains written in the rocks. As we move to the next chapter, Britain drifted northward towards the equator, bringing about dramatic environmental changes. Vast tropical seas covered the land, depositing the Carboniferous limestone, which now forms the distinctive landscapes of the Peak District in the Mendip Hills. These seas gave way to swamps, where massive forests grew and the vegetation was later buried and compressed to produce layers of coal. These coal deposits would later become crucial resources, forming some of the most important metalliferous mining districts in the British Isles, with major coal fields developing across Wales, northern England, and central Scotland. Then came the desert period, when Britain sat in hot, arid conditions near the equator, creating distinctive red sandstones and mudstones. Later still, new seas flooded the land, depositing the chalk, a special type of fine-grained white and gray rock composed of minute grains and fossils made up of calcium carbonate. The final chapter of our story brings more drama. Scotland's final episode of rock creation was the dramatic period of volcanic activity along Britain's western edge about 60 million years ago, creating the dramatic landscapes of Scotland's Inner Hebrides. Then came the Ice Ages. The region lay beyond the extent of the ice sheets that have dominated the evolution of the British landscape over the past 2 to 3 million years. though glaciers carved out the dramatic valleys and sculpted the mountains and lakes we see today. These ice ages only ended about 11,000 years ago, just a blink of an eye in geological time and Great Britain's story. This varied geological history created distinct mining regions across Britain, each with its own mineral wealth. In Cornwall and Dartmoor, granite intrusions pushed through the older rocks around 295 million years ago, bringing with them mineral veins, which were formed by the cooling of mineral-rich liquids associated with the magma. These veins contained tin, copper, tungsten, and even small amounts of gold and silver. The Peak District in northern Pennines developed rich lead and zinc deposits, where mineralized fluids moved through the cracks in the Carboniferous limestone. In central England, the coal measures not only provided coal, but also ironstone and brick clay, while the Cheshire Basin contained thick layers of rock salt formed by the periodic evaporation of seawater. Wales developed its own mining identity with a lead-silver mineralization that was worked extensively until the early 20th century, while its coal measures supported the development of the steel and shipbuilding industries. Each of these mining regions tells a story of how different geological processes, from tropical seas to volcanic activity to desert conditions, concentrated various minerals that would later power Britain's Industrial Revolution. What we see today, every mountain, valley, coastline, and mining landscape, is the product of this incredible journey through time, shaped by the fundamental forces of our dynamic planet and deeply intertwined with human history. So let's dig into some of the most iconic places and people celebrated here. Let's go film some rocks. Edinburgh's dramatic cityscape is a testament to its fascinating geological history, shaped by forces spanning hundreds of millions of years. The city is built upon a foundation of two main rock types formed during the Carboniferous period, roughly 360 to 300 million years ago. Sedimentary rocks created in ancient river systems and shallow seas, and igneous rocks cooled from the volcanic magma. This geological diversity gives Edinburgh its distinctive character, with the igneous rocks forming the city's famous hills, and the softer sedimentary rocks creating the gentler slopes where much of the city is built. I also just love how proud of its geological heritage Scotland seems to be. There are so many features showcasing the geology and stones here, from the Scotsman Steps, the Stones of Scotland, and of course, Dynamic Earth. Let's go check out some of this geo-heritage. Suck.
Take pictures.
Okay, so the iconic Edinburgh Castle sits upon Castle Rock, very appropriately named. This is a volcanic plug that formed approximately 340 million years ago, showcasing how geology has influenced human settlement and defense here in Scotland. Okay, so we just learned that the castle is handicap accessible. All you just need to do is talk to a member of the staff, and apparently they'll take you around and up secret lifts. So, just so you know. To the east lies Arthur's Seat, the eroded remnant of an ancient volcano that last erupted about 350 million years ago. This extinct volcano, now a popular hiking destination, offers a glimpse into Edinburgh's fiery past and has panoramic views of the city. But it goes beyond the famous hills. The city's architectural beauty owes much to its geological resources. Many of Edinburgh's historic buildings are constructed from local sandstone, primarily sourced from nearby quarries like Craiglith, which operated for over 300 years. The durable, gray-brown Craiglith sandstone gives Edinburgh its distinctive look, visible in landmarks such as the Scott Monument and parts of Edinburgh Castle. Edinburgh's geology has not only shaped its physical landscape, but also influenced its cultural and scientific legacy. The famous geologist James Hutton, considered the founder of modern geology, made key observations at sites like Salisbury Crags and Holyrood Park. We'll chat more about him in a bit. Over the past 2 million years, glacial erosion during the Ice Age has further sculpted Edinburgh's landscape, creating features like the Crag and Tail Formation of Castle Rock and the Royal Mile. This interplay of ancient volcanic activity, sedimentation, and more recent glacial sculpting has resulted in the stunning and varied landscape we see today. But Edinburgh's geological influence isn't just about volcanoes and castles. Sometimes it shows up in the most unexpected places, like the steps we're about to descend. The Scotsman Steps might look like just another Edinburgh shortcut, but they're actually one of the city's most fascinating geological art installations. Built in 1899 as part of the Scotsman newspaper building, these 104 steps were originally designed to connect North Bridge with Market Street, housed in this octagonal stone tower. By the early 2000s, these steps had fallen into disrepair. What had once been a crucial city thoroughfare had now turned into a neglected space, and honestly looks like it might be coming towards that way again. But in 2011, everything changed. Hi. Sorry. I'm a geologist, it's not weird. But in 2011, everything changed when Turner Prize-winning artist Martin Creed was commissioned to transform them into what he calls a walk through the world. Each step is made of a different type of marble, sourced from various countries around the world. Italy supplied the most varieties, 45 different types of marble. You might even recognize step 6 here from one of our previous videos a couple years ago about Carrara marble, as this was sourced from there. India contributed 9 different marbles, while Spain and Turkey each contributed 5. You're literally walking on a geological journey from Pakistan's Black Forest Gold here at the bottom, all the way up to Brazil's Azul Macabas here at the top. The variety is incredible. You've got everything from Norway's pink granite-like Rosa Norvegia to Bolivia's deep blue lapis lazuli. Some steps, like Morocco's brown fossil, even contain visible remains of ancient marine life. It's like a vertical museum of Earth's geologic history. What makes this even more interesting is how the marbles were chosen. Creed didn't carefully curate which marble went where, he used random numbering to decide the order. But each piece had to meet strict standards for strength and slip resistance. These aren't just beautiful stones, they're functional pieces of geological engineering. The project perfectly balances art and geology. While some steps shimmer with crystal formations, others showcase distinctive, beautiful veining. Every single step tells a story of how it was formed, from deep in the ocean to the tops of mountains. But perhaps the most fascinating part is how these steps continue their historical role of connecting Edinburgh's two worlds. Just as the original step linked the wealthy new town above to the working-class old town below, today they connect local history with global geology. Each marble step is like a letter in Earth's alphabet, spelling out stories of formation, transformation, and connection. The Scotsman steps showed us how stones from around the world help tell Edinburgh's story. There's another monument that uses Scotland's own rocks to tell the story of Scotland's identity and future. Okay, so here in Regent Park, overlooking the modern Scottish Parliament building, are these stones of Scotland. Each of these stones comes from a different council area here in Scotland, representing the country as a whole. Created in 2002, it's not just a geological collection. It's a symbol of Scotland's political rebirth. Every stone here tells a part of Scotland's geological story. The Western Isles contributed some of Britain's oldest rock. A Louisian gneiss formed about 2.7 million years ago. Aberdeen, famous as the Granite City, sent a piece of the distinctive gray granite that built their city. From Moray, there's sandstone containing footprints of Permian reptiles that walked this land 250 million years ago. Some of these stones shaped Scottish history in unexpected ways. That pink granite from Argyll and Butte was so prized it was used in New York's docks and London's Albert Memorial. The marble from Skye found its way into buildings as far away as the Vatican. Even the famous gingerbread house of West Lothian contributed a stone to this collection. But what makes this monument really special is its timing. It was built between the 1997 vote for Scottish Parliament and the Parliament's building's completion in 2004. These stones became a temporary parliament of sorts, a circular gathering place looking towards Scotland's future while literally grounded in its geological past. The monument includes poetry by Hugh MacDiarmid that perfectly captures those connections between Scotland's rocks and its identity. So I have gathered unto myself all the loose ends of Scotland, and by naming them and accepting them, loving them and identifying myself with them, attempt to express the whole. From the volcanic hills to its sandstone buildings, from ancient seabeds to royal fortresses, Edinburgh's geology tells a story written in stone, waiting to be discovered by those who walk its streets and climb its hills. But there's more to Scotland than just Edinburgh. It's time to hop in the car and see some more of the famous sights here. We're grabbing the car today, and it has been supposedly snowing up in the highlands, so wish us luck. From Edinburgh, we grabbed a car and made our way up towards the Scottish Highlands. Of course, we had to make a few stops along the way, such as the Centre of Scotland stone. There was also just a couple of little mishaps along the way.
I think I do too.
Our first major stop on our road trip.
You didn't think I'd come all the way to Scotland without seeing its most famous resident, did you?
Of course, prior to visiting any geological gem, it is crucial that you do your research. For us, that meant watching a very special episode of Scooby-Doo. Just kidding, kind of.
If you think that's fishy, just look behind you.
Jinkies! Loch Ness, with its deep, mysterious, legendary waters, is a testament to the geological forces here in Scotland that have taken place over millions of years. This loch is part of the Great Glen Fault, a massive valley visible from space. It was carved by glaciers more than 10,000 years ago during the Pleistocene era. The glaciers sculpted the landscape with incredible force, creating the characteristic U-shaped valley that we've talked about in other videos, such as the Beartooth Highway, and scouring the loch to a depth of 754 feet, making it Scotland's second deepest lake. So let's just say that Nessie has plenty of room to hide. All right, we are taking a cruise with Loch Ness by Jacobite today to go look for Nessie, so let's go.
But the story of Loch Ness goes much deeper and older than the Ice Age. The Great Glen follows a major fault line, the Great Glen Fault, very originally named, which originated around 430 to 390 million years ago during a period of mountain building known as the Caledonian Orogeny. This fault has shifted the northern part of Scotland northeast by an astonishing 65 miles relative to the southern part. Today, minor earthquakes still occur along this fault, with some researchers suggesting a connection between these seismic events and sightings of the fabled Loch Ness monster. While there's no scientific evidence for Nessie, the loch's unique geology, from its steep, vegetation-free shores to its great depth and the occasional tremor, has undoubtedly contributed to the persistence of the legend since the first recorded sighting in 565 AD. Whether you're drawn by the geology or the mystery, or both, Loch Ness offers a fascinating glimpse into Scotland's dynamic geological past and the power of nature to shape both landscapes and legends.
You know, I think this might call for to tell a story.
Kaylin's taking one for the team and having the Nessie sighting-inducing hot chocolate. It has whiskey in it before noon.
Of course, a visit to Loch Ness is not complete without a visit to the Loch Ness Centre.
Okay, so we can't visit the Loch Ness Centre because there's so much snow that the power cut off, I guess. So, we don't get to visit the Loch Ness Centre. That's okay. Okay. Honor of the Geo trip. Rocks. I don't know what they are, but I don't think they're peanuts.
After some eventful learning about kilts, it is time to continue to our next stop on our Scotland Geology road trip. We, of course, have to visit the geological wonderland known as the Isle of Skye.
We got to Skye last night. It gets dark at 4:30 here, so completely pitch black. We have yet to see anything from Skye, so you'll get to experience it as we do.
Here, every cliff, mountain, and valley tells a story spanning nearly 3 billion years of Earth's history. Imagine the island is a giant layer cake, where each layer represents a different chapter in Earth's history. However, that cake might have been a little bit of a smash cake, as some of the layers are twisted and folded and others are broken and reshaped by the forces of nature. So we're going to talk about our Skye road trip according to the geologic timeline, not the actual timeline of places we visited. So the geological journey begins in the southeast at the Sleep Peninsula, where we find some of Europe's oldest rocks, the Louisian gneiss, formed almost 3 billion years ago. These ancient rocks were once part of the same landmass as Greenland and Canada, a testament to a time when our continents were arranged very differently. Overlying these ancient foundations, like pages of Earth's history book, we find the Turidian sandstone, laid down by fast-flowing rivers some 800 million years ago. Moving to the heart of Skye, we encounter the dramatic Cullinan Mountains, the island's centerpiece. These jagged peaks, over 3,200 feet high, aren't just any mountains. They're the exposed hearts of ancient volcanoes that erupted around 60 million years ago. If you visit the fairy pools at their base, you're looking at rocks that were once molten magma, crystallized deep within the earth. The black cullinan, made of dark, rough gabbro, and the rounded, reddish granite peaks of the red cullinan stand as silent sentinels to this fiery past. The northern part of Skye showcases what geologists call a trap landscape, most visible at locations like the Quarang and the Old Man of Store. Imagine pouring pancake batter in layers. That's similar to how ancient lava flows built up here, layer upon layer. But nature had another trick up its sleeve. These heavy layers of basalt sat on top of weaker Jurassic sedimentary rocks, and like a heavy book sliding off a tilted shelf, massive sections began to slip. This created the iconic landscapes of the Trotternish Peninsula, including the famous Old Man of Store and the dramatic cliffs of Kilt Rock. Speaking of the Jurassic period, Skye holds another fascinating secret. Along its coastline, particularly around Staffen, you can find footprints of dinosaurs preserved in the rock, a reminder that around 165 million years ago, this area was a subtropical coastal paradise where dinosaurs roamed. These footprints, along with fossils found in the area, make Skye home to over 10% of the world's Middle Jurassic dinosaur species.
So unfortunately, we are here during high tide. Low tide this morning was at 6 a.m. and at 8 p.m. Both times which are dark here during this time of year. So I don't think we're going to go see any dinosaur footprints. I have a feeling if they're anywhere, they're on that shell over there. Not entirely sure. Okay, so my best guesses from what I'm seeing on blogs and Google Maps is that they're on this shelf here, which is probably why you want to come at low tide.
The final chapter in Skye's Geology was written by ice. During the last ice age, which ended around 11,000 years ago, massive glaciers carved out valleys and sculpted the landscape. You can see their handiwork everywhere. In the U-shaped valleys, the smooth, polished rocks, and features like the Fairy Glen near Uig, where the interplay of ice and rock created a uniquely whimsical landscape. We took the time to do the short hike to the Fairy Glen. This enchanting area has been sculpted by millennia of erosion, resulting in a unique miniature landscape often described as a mini Quarang. The glen's distinctive features are primarily composed of Teridian sandstone, a sedimentary rock that has been shaped into an array of cone-shaped, craggy hillocks, known locally as fairy knolls. These formations are interspersed with random boulders and tranquil loch-ins, creating a whimsical, otherworldly atmosphere that has given rise to numerous fairy legends, despite no distinctive folklore linking the land to the magical realm. One of the most striking geological features of the Fairy Glen is Castle Ewan. And much to my dismay, this is not an actual castle. It's actually a natural basalt outcrop that bears an uncanny resemblance to a crumbling medieval fortress. Honestly, if you visited other crumbling castles around Scotland or the world, I can see where this comes from. This formation exemplifies the power of differential erosion, where the harder basalt rock has resisted weathering more effectively than the surrounding sandstone. The glen's beautiful landscape is further enhanced by scattered waterfalls and ponds, a testament to the ongoing erosional processes shaping the area. You might also stumble upon a sheep friend or two. When compared to the other geological wonders on Skye, such as the Quarang, the Fairy Glen stands out for its concentrated, small-scale representation of the larger landslip features found elsewhere on the island. Human activity has also left its mark on this geological wonder. Visitors often create stone spirals and designs on the glen's floor, a practice that has become kind of contentious. While some see it as a way to interact with the landscape and local lore, others, particularly locals, view it as vandalism that disrupts the natural environment. Consequently, there's an ongoing cycle of creation and removal of these human-made features, highlighting the delicate balance between tourism and preservation in such geologically significant areas. My friends and I personally like to practice leave no trace principles, although we do admit that the stone circles make it a very cool place to visit. As part of the larger geological story of Skye, the Fairy Glen offers a unique glimpse into the island's volcanic past and the powerful forces of glaciation and erosion that have shaped its dramatic landscape over millions of years. Today, Skye's geological story continues to unfold. Wind and rain constantly reshape the landscape. waves batter the coastline, and occasional landslides remind us that the Earth is never truly still. From the ancient gneiss of sleet to the young glacial deposits, Skye stands as one of the world's great geological museums, where the story of Earth's past is written in stone for all to see. These stories in the stone are great, but there's another way geology tells its tales here, through Scotland's most famous spirit.
First stop on our Whisky adventure is the Whisky experience here in Edinburgh, right down from the castle.
Scotland's diverse geological landscape plays a crucial role in shaping the character of its world-renowned Scotch whisky. That is whiskey with no E, which I thought was really interesting. This ancient foundation, from Precambrian bedrock to tertiary volcanics, provides a stage for unique interplay between rock, water, and whiskey that has fascinated both geologists and whiskey enthusiasts for centuries.
At the heart of Scotch whiskey production lies water, the water of life, or Uisge. Does that sound right? Uisge. Uisge.
We've been trying to figure out the Gaelic name for water, like the Uisges. How do you pronounce it?
Uisge. Yeah, Uisge Bay is water of life.
From which we get the word whiskey. This water, primarily sourced from rain, streams, rivers, lochs, and springs, interacts with Scotland's varied geology, dissolving minerals and organic compounds that contribute to each whiskey's distinct profile. The journey of whiskey begins in the highlands and islands, where rain falls on exposed rock faces. In areas with crystalline rocks, like parts of the highlands, water flows quickly over the surface, resulting in soft, mineral pore water. This soft water, particularly when filtered through peat bogs, has traditionally been considered ideal for whiskey production, though it's worth noting that less than 20% of single malt whiskeys actually use such water. Contrast this with regions where the bedrock is more permeable or fractured, such as areas with limestones or sandstones. Here, the water percolates through the rock, dissolving minerals and emerging as harder, more alkaline water. This geological diversity explains why, even within a small area like Dufftown, distilleries can draw water from several different sources, each imparting its unique characteristics to the whiskey.
So yeah, this is our water source. The stream of the Otter comes from Ben Vraki, the big mountain next to Pitlochry.
The iconic Islay whiskies offer a prime example of geology's influence. The western coast of Islay, home to a few famous distilleries, sits on the Precambrian Turidian rocks, coarse grits and Arkose sandstones that are among the oldest rocks used in whiskey production. These ancient formations contribute to smooth, golden-colored spirits. In stark contrast, the southern shore of Islay, where you'll find different distilleries, is underlain by lower Dalridian Philip metamorphic rocks. Combined with the area's extensive peat deposits, formed due to the soft Dalridian schists, these geological features give rise to the deep amber, full-bodied liquors with their characteristic, smoky, iodine-like pungency. Moving to the Isle of Skye, we encounter yet another geological setting. Skye is part of the Tertiary Igneous Province, and its volcanic rocks contribute to the unique profile of Talisker whiskey. They describe their spirit as having a smoky, maritime flavor, a testament to the volcanic terroir and coastal location.
This is the 10-year.
So Talisker dries their barley, open it, dries their base with peat, giving it that smoky smell and flavor. And peat is really abundant here on the Isle of Skye.
That's not getting cut.
Oh, that's getting cut.
No, you got it.
Delicious.
In Speyside, home to over 45 distinct malts, the geology is dominated by Dalridian schists and quartzite, generally yielding soft water. However, the presence of Dalridian calc schists and meta-limestones in some areas results in harder water, contributing to the diversity of Speyside whiskies. The influence of geology extends beyond water chemistry, though. Peat, used in the malting process to impart smoky flavors, is itself a product of local geology and climate. The composition of peat varies based on the underlying rock types and the plant matter that formed it, further contributing to regional whiskey characteristics. It is fascinating to compare Scotch whiskey with its counterparts in other countries. American bourbon, for instance, often uses hard water from Ordovician limestones, particularly in Kentucky and Tennessee. The geological difference contributes to the distinct flavor profiles that set bourbon apart from Scotch. In essence, Scotch whisky is a testament to the incredible diversity of Scotland's geology. It's a drink that captures not just the skill of the distiller, but the very bedrock of the land, a true spirit of the place, if you will. Slangeva. As you explore these regions and sample their variety of whiskeys, you're not just a taster, but a geological time traveler, experiencing the flavors shaped by billions of years of Earth's history. Dramatic landscapes and a bit of whiskey may catch the interest of travelers today, but it was another Scottish icon that caught the attention of a farmer who would change science forever.
Imagine standing on a boat in 1788 and looking to a cliff and you see this. What looks like a simple junction of two rock types is about to change the world as we know it forever. We are here at Skye Point. This is where James Hutton would famously make his colleagues' mind grow giddy by looking so far into the abyss of time.
Today, reaching this revolutionary site involves a journey along the Scottish coast, about 40 miles east of Edinburgh. While Hutton arrived dramatically by boat, we follow a path from a quiet lay-by, walking through sheep fields towards the rocky coastline.
Alright, I really thought Google Maps was leading us astray, taking us down this random farm road. And all the farmers are laughing at us, but there's a sign that says James Hutton, so I'm assuming we're in the right place. Let's go. We managed to get a somewhat sunny day today. The rain stopped just long enough for us to get to Skye Point. How nice is that? So James Hutton came to Skye Point by boat. Nowadays, I think you can probably still come by boat, but there's also this nice hiking trail through the field. You just have to brave the farmers laughing at you. So that's fun. But great views. It's a nice little hike. The sign said it was like 0.9 kilometers each way, so like 2 kilometers is all.
The final approach to Skye Point involves a steep, grassy slope that can be pretty treacherous, especially in wet weather.
Okay, just a fair warning. If you do come to Skye Point, probably don't try this. I'm doing it so you guys don't have to. This is very steep down here. Fair warning. Whew. This is insane. But somebody was nice enough to provide a rope. Oh my gosh. This is so steep. My thighs are burning. I think I can show you how steep this is.
However, I should note that you don't have to go down this slope to view the Unconformity. There's a sign and great viewing spot from the top.
So what makes this site so special? The rocks here tell two dramatically different stories of Earth's history. The older layers of greywacke or greywacky, depending on how you learn how to pronounce it. I learned greywacky. But these greywacky layers stand nearly vertical. And they're heading about this way. It's kind of like you took an ancient book and turned it on its edge so its pages were facing up.
These rocks formed in an ancient ocean called the Iapetus, where sediment was laid down, and then approximately 425 million years ago, colliding plates created immense pressure that converted the sediment to rock.
But above these are almost flat-lying sandstones. These are younger layers that tell a completely different geologic story. These sandstones formed about 65 million years later in hot, dry river valleys, kind of similar to modern deserts. So we're looking from the ocean being turned up on its side to hot, dry river valleys. Something had to have happened in between these two events. When James Hutton saw this junction, he realized something revolutionary. In 1788, most people believed that the Earth was around 6,000 years old. They actually had an estimated date for the Earth's creation, which was October 22nd, 4004. That's pretty specific. But Hutton was a farmer and he understood the process of erosion, where rocks can get slowly withered away by water, air, etc. We've talked about erosion a little bit before in several of our other videos. He recognized that the single cliff face showed multiple cycles of deposition, uplift, erosion, and more deposition processes that would require vastly more time than anyone had ever previously dared to imagine. Even though it's something that most 5th and 6th graders are taught today, it was radical thinking at the time.
Hutton had already presented his theory of the Earth to the Royal Society of Edinburgh in 1785, suggesting that Earth's features weren't the result of a single catastrophic flood, but rather the ongoing work of processes we can still see today. Rivers eroding mountains, seas depositing sediments, underground heat pushing rocks upward.
Sitting here today, you can literally place your hand on a time gap that we call an unconformity. This is a gap that represents missing layers of geologic history, and it's right here. Where my hand is represents 65 million years of missing rock record. Hutton's discovery here didn't just change our understanding of Earth's age. It helped create the entire science of geology as we know it today. His simple but profound realization that the present is key to the past laid the groundwork for Charles Lyell's theories, which later inspired Charles Darwin's work on evolution. Today, we know the Earth is roughly 4.5 billion years old, as we currently understand it, that is. The thought process to discover Earth's age started right here at Skye Point, with the Hutton Unconformity. Pretty crazy.
The site's significance extends beyond this single cliff face. Looking south, you can see the high, harsh cliffs of the older Greywacke, forming the southern uplands, while to the north, the landscape softens into the rolling hills of the younger rocks. It's a perfect illustration of how geology shaped our landscape. Today, Skye Point is considered one of the most important geological sites in the world and remains a place of pilgrimage for geologists like myself. If you can't make it to Scotland, a casting of the Skye Point Unconformity is housed in the American Museum of Natural History in New York, allowing people worldwide to understand this crucial moment in scientific history. Skye Point isn't isolated in its significance, though. Hutton found similar evidence at sites in northern Iran and Jedburgh. In Edinburgh, you can visit the Hutton Memorial Garden, built on the site of his home, which displays rock samples including granite veins from Glen Tilt that helped prove his theories. His final resting place in Greyfriars Kirkyard completes a scientific pilgrimage route through the city. While our understanding of Earth's processes has advanced enormously since Hutton's time, the fundamental principle that he discovered here remains unchanged. Modern geologists use sophisticated dating techniques and digital mapping, but we still rely on his basic insight, that the rocks themselves tell the story of Earth's past. His introduction of uniformitarianism, the idea that present-day processes are the key to understanding Earth's past, remains one of the fundamental principles of Earth science. As you stand here today, watching waves crash against the same rocks Hutton observed in 1788, you're not just looking at an unconformity. You're looking at one of science's great revolutionary moments, frozen in stone. In Hutton's words, we find here
no vestige of the beginning, no prospect of ending.
Just the endless cycles of our dynamic planet, written in the rocks beneath our feet. In these rocks, we learn to read the language of time itself and the stories written in stones.
So while Hutton was discovering deep time here in Scotland, another revolutionary figure was walking England's canals, making observations that would create an entirely new way to view the Earth.
That means it's time to head south.
You never know it, but behind these two curtains are objects that change the world as we know it forever. Let me show you.
In today's world, traditional maps have largely disappeared from our daily lives. Navigation apps tell us where to go, traffic patterns, and even where to find the best cuppa. But there's one type of map that remains as crucial today as it was 200 years ago, the geological map.
These colorful representations of Earth's structures guide our understanding of natural resources, construction planning, and the very history of our planet. It all began with one man's revolutionary vision in 1815.
Today, we are visiting the Geological Society at Burlington House, where visitors can see two remarkable maps hanging side by side. These are available for viewing Tuesday through Thursday, 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. These maps tell the story of geology's birth as a science. The first and most significant is William Smith's 1815 masterpiece, a massive 8.5 foot by 6 foot creation spread across 15 sections, displaying the first geological mapping of an entire nation. The map is a feast for the eyes. 23 distinct, hand-colored strata, each shaded darker at its base and lighter at its top, creating this almost three-dimensional effect. But this wasn't just artistic flourish. Every color choice, every shade variation served a scientific purpose. William Smith's journey began in the mines of England. In 1792, while working at the Mearns coal pit, this young surveyor noticed something that would change science forever. As he descended into the dark shafts, he observed distinct layers of rock, or strata, appearing in a consistent order. This observation earned him the nickname that would follow him throughout the 19th century England, Strata Smith. Smith's genius lay not just in observing the rocks, but in recognizing that specific fossils appeared in specific layers. Through his work on the Somerset Coal Canal and his travels across England, he began piecing together a greater picture. By 1797, he had made his first attempt at ordering strata, from chalk down to the coal measures. In 1799, he created his first small geological map around Bath. But this final map was a monumental undertaking that actually left him almost bankrupt. Working with Britain's foremost cartographer, John Carey, Smith meticulously mapped over 175,000 square kilometers. Every color was chosen for both utility and beauty, creating what some people describe as an incomparably beautiful geological map. As I mentioned, despite the map's significance, Smith's path wasn't easy. As a common man in the scientific circles of Georgian England, he faced significant social barriers. The map's publication in 1815 left him financially strained and basically homeless. At one point, he even ended up in debtor's prison. However, there is a happy ending, I promise. Perseverance eventually led to recognition. King William IV granted him a pension of £100 per year, and at the age of 67, he received an honorary doctorate from Trinity College, Dublin. Smith's work laid the foundation for modern geology. His principle of using fossils to identify and correlate rock layers, biostratigraphy, remains fundamental to geological science. When compared with modern seismic data and geological surveys, the accuracy of his work is pretty remarkable. An interesting comparison can be made with George Bellis Greenaw's 1820 map, displayed alongside Smith's at the Geological Society. While Greenaw's map is technically more accurate in some ways, using multiple sources, Smith's innovative stratigraphical approach revolutionized how we understand Earth's structure. Today, Smith's principles continue to guide geological understanding. From mineral and oil exploration to construction projects, his methods still remain relevant. Of the approximately 400 copies of Smith's map originally issued, fewer than 10% survive today. The Natural History Museum holds 5 copies, making it one of the largest collections of this revolutionary document. Each surviving copy, many signed by Smith himself, represents a crucial piece of scientific history. William Smith's map did more than just document Britain's geology. It changed how we view the Earth itself. As we stand before this map today, we're looking at more than just a historical document. We're seeing the foundation of modern geological science. If you want to know more about William Smith, his map, and his crazy life story, I highly recommend a book called The Map That Changed the World. It was recommended to me for this journey, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, both as a geologist and a reader. Strata Smith got his start in the mines of England. And you know me, it's not a trip without a mine tour. So of course, we had to head to the mines ourselves to get a first-hand look at some of the mines that helped power Britain's industrial might. The Peak District might not look like a mining landscape at first glance, but beneath these rolling hills lies one of Britain's richest mineral deposits. While today the Peak District is Britain's first national park established in 1951, these peaks once helped power Britain's industrial might. This landscape has been shaped by both natural forces and human ingenuity.
Imagine standing on the edge of an ancient tropical sea, where countless marine creatures once swam in crystal clear, warm water. Now picture that same location, but 300 million years later, as the heart of Great Britain's first national park, where thousands of miners would dig deep into the Earth's crust in search of precious minerals and resources. This is the Peak District, where geology and human history intertwine to tell an incredible story. Millions of years ago, this entire region was submerged beneath a tropical lagoon. Today, if you climb to the highest peaks of the park or visit here at the National Stone Center, you can still find the fossilized remains of ancient sea creatures, silent witnesses to the district's prehistoric past. All right, so first stop of the day is the Magpie Mine. That's about an hour, like 30 minutes maybe away from the Peak District Mining Museum. And it's a historical mine that's supposed to be pretty well preserved. So we're just walking to that right now. Okay, so this, I believe, is the road you're supposed to come down. Please do not come the way that Google Maps takes you, the way that we came. I will put the entrance to this road on my mining Google Maps layer so that way you guys can find it. Because you do not want to take the road that we took. Cows! Hello, sir. Are we heading the right direction?
This is considered to be one of the best preserved lead mines in Britain, and it's not hard to see why. The impressive stone building here is the 1869 Cornish Engine House, and the towering chimney dates back to 1840. This site tells an incredible story of industrial ambition, technological innovation, and human drama. Looking down this main shaft, now safely capped, miners once descended 728 feet into the earth. Some miners would even walk miles just to reach the mine entrance. What's remarkable about the Magpie Mine is how much has been preserved. You can still see the old powder house where they stored explosives, the agent's house and smithy from the 1840s, and even a replica horse gin that shows how horses helped power mining operations.
All right, next stop on the geologic tour of the day is the National Stone Center. Let's go check it out.
Our next stop of the day takes us to the National Stone Center, where we can literally walk through the geological history that made this region so important for mining. The site spans 40 acres of former limestone quarries, with rocks formed about 330 million years ago. What's really cool about this site is how they've turned industrial heritage into an educational landscape. You can follow self-guided trails that show you the geology, ecology, and industrial history all at once. The remains of lime kilns, railway tracks, and old mine shafts tell the story of how humans have worked these stones for centuries. I also love this because I feel like quarries just don't get enough attention. And industrial stones make up so much of our daily life. One of the most fascinating features here is the Millennium Wall, a collection of different stone walls that showcase how regions across Britain used their local stone.
Okay, so we just met a dry stone waller down on the path, and she was telling us about this Millennium Wall here. So it's kind of like an art exhibition, but also like skill showing and, I don't know, a bit of history, I guess. And so what they did is they brought in dry stone wallers from all over Great Britain to showcase their distinct, not only the stones that they use, but also their distinct styles of wall that they're using. So each of these stones in the wall styles are all different, and they're all different regions. It's so cool. I'm gonna be honest, I've not been paying that much attention to the stone walls around, but now I feel like I need to. Like, there's so many different types. Like, look at this one. And the skill that each of these takes is fascinating.
It's amazing to see how geology literally shaped the way people built across Britain and how each of these stones is used in different wall shapes and techniques. They've even created something called the geosteps, which is an outdoor auditorium where each step represents a different geological time period. It was very cool and such a clever way to visualize Earth's history. Next up is probably what I was most excited for, the Peak District Mining Museum, housed in the Grand Pavilion in Matlock, Bath. This beautiful 1910 building has a fascinating history of its own, but it's what's inside that's even more impressive. While we were there, we met up with Claire, the museum manager, who showed us some incredible exhibits, including the star of the show.
The ingenuity of the Peak District is perfectly exemplified by this remarkable feat of engineering. The Willis Founder water pressure engine, built in 1819. This massive pumping engine used a natural force of falling water to pump even more water out from underground, helping to keep the mines dewatered and working. This is one of the oldest surviving engines of its kind in the entire world.
The museum houses thousands of mining artifacts and mineral specimens. You can even see samples of blue john, a unique type of fluorite found only in this region, and is still being mined here. While we didn't visit the caverns ourselves, seeing these beautiful purple and yellow banded stones really helps you understand why they've become so prized. What makes this museum extra special is how hands-on it is. You can actually climb through mock mine tunnels in the walls to get a feel for what mining was like back in the day. It's also so interesting visiting all of these different mine museums around the world because you always learn something new. Claire told us about something fascinating called the Barmote Court, which is a special legal system just for handling mining disputes that dates back centuries and is still in place today. Claire also let us in on some exciting news. There are some big changes coming to the Peak District Mining Museum. While I can't share the details, definitely follow them on social media to stay up to date on what's happening. Our final stop is the Temple Mine, where I'm going underground myself.
Next stop, of course, we couldn't come to the Peak District without doing a tour at the Peak District Mining Museum. Unfortunately, Miss Caitlin is in a knee brace and couldn't join me, so we're soloing this one.
This is a real 1920s lead and fluorspar mine. And while the tour is generally accessible, there are some muddy and slippery sections to watch out for. Here at the Temple Mine, you can see workings from different eras. Some parts from the 1920s, others from the 1950s, and some sections over 200 years old. You'll also see a variety of equipment, including a rare 1936 locomotive. The tour really helps you appreciate the conditions that miners worked in and the technical challenges they faced. While large-scale mining operations have kind of wavered here in the Peak District, the mining heritage is everywhere you look. There were once over 25,000 mine shafts dotting these hills. Today, only about a quarter of the mining sites survive, which makes the work of the Peak District Mines Historical Society so important. Since 1959, they've been working to preserve these remarkable places, ensuring that future generations can understand this crucial chapter of British history. What's fascinating about the Peak District is how the story of mining here evolved over time.
But it's what lies beneath these peaks that really tells a tale of human ingenuity and determination. The Peak District orefield was one of Great Britain's richest mineral deposits, while copper was being mined here as far back as the Bronze Age, using tools made of bone. It was lead that would become the area's claim to mineral fame. Here's a quick, fun, and fascinating fact with a connection to art history. The lead paint that was used in Vermeer's famous Girl with the Pearl Earring painting was mined right here in the Peak District of Great Britain. How cool is that? But the mining story here isn't just about the minerals. It's also about the people who risked everything to extract them.
From prehistoric seas, to industrial powerhouse, to protected national park, the Peak District shows us how geology shapes not just landscapes, but human history itself. The stories in these rocks help tell the story of our Earth, helped Britain become an industrial powerhouse, and continue to draw people to explore these peaks today. Before we wrap up this incredible journey across Great Britain, I wanted to share something special with you all. This trip actually wouldn't have been possible without some amazing news. I was selected as one of the 2024 Women in Mining 100 Global Inspirational Women in Mining. This is just a huge honor. The recognition celebrates women who are making impacts in the mining industry, challenging the status quo, and creating opportunities for future generations. And honestly, I wouldn't have been here without you all and this incredible online community. When I started sharing these geological stories, the stories written in stone, I never imagined how many people would join me on this journey. From exploring abandoned mines to explaining random rocks, you've been there, learning and growing with me. Being recognized as a WIN 100 alongside incredible women from 41 different countries means more than just a personal achievement. It's proof that sharing our passion for geology, mining, and science in general can make a real difference. So thank you. Thank you for watching, for engaging, for being a part of this community that's helping change how people see mining and geology. There are so many stories to tell, more rocks to explore, and more places to discover together. This is just the beginning, and I look forward to what the future holds. But for now, this is where we are ending our geological journey of Great Britain.
If you're planning your own Great Britain geological adventure and want to discover these wonders for yourself, check out my free Cool Geology and Mining Google Maps layers on my website. I have marked all of these spots that we visited, as well as a ton more that we didn't get a chance to see this trip. Where do you want us to explore next? Drop it in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed coming on this geological journey, make sure to like this video and subscribe to The Rock Record for more exciting adventures coming up. See you on the next one.